Hi guys! Okay, so I'm at the GoPro event. I totally want to do this live video about Richard Branson, and I have not done any studying or anything on it. I would love for this to be in the background, but someone had the same idea I did. That'll work, whatever. You're here for the content, right? Alright, I'm just gonna have a e-shot before I start, because I tell you what, these are long days. Yesterday we started at 10 a.m. and didn't get done till 11 p.m. Alright? And during our lunch break, which was at 4 o'clock, we ended up doing a infinite banking seminar, which is really interesting when you borrow money from yourself rather than the bank. So it's very cool. Alright, oh good, he got out of the way. Okay, so you got, I like having background, right? You know, I'm crazy like that. Okay, so I want to go over the Richard Branson stuff. Here we go. I want to make use of your time. I want to add value to your life. I'm not trying to waste your time, but I'm trying to open this e-shot. So I'm doing a few things at a time. So just bear with me for like 5 seconds, maybe 10, and I'll give you all the information you want to know. And I have the selfie stick because I still am vain and hate to have that damn camera right up to my face. I'm 41, for crying out loud. Don't even use Botox yet, so I need a little space. All right. Okay, so here we go. Again, this isn't scripted or anything. Hold on. Hey, Sherry. Let me get ready here. Sorry, I need a team. I need more team members here to help me out with this shit. All right, here we go. So Richard Branson today, y'all know who he is, right? He's an entrepreneur, obviously. He was one of the first. He was an entrepreneur before it was sexy to be an entrepreneur. Now it's sexy. You get to wear what you want, drive nice cars, and have nice things. But he really was a true entrepreneur, and I just want to make it clear that something I learned today was that, you know, back when he was an entrepreneur, it was kind of against all odds because the government owned everything. You know, British Airlines, British everything, British companies, just not, everything was government ran. Let me put the volume up here. So he says an entrepreneur is someone who creates something that is a big offering to other people, something that people want, that people need. And he says a lot of the reasons he created these businesses is because he was just frustrated with the way they were doing it. You know, his story about how he created Virgin Airlines is hilarious. I can't wait to give you that one. So he was asked a question: do you believe entrepreneurs think differently than other people? And he said yes, and unequivocally. He said that an entrepreneur is someone that can improve other people's lives, and they just say screw it and let's go do it. Many don't have the courage to do that. They just can't. They don't want to learn. They don't want to fall flat on their faces. So they don't want to be an entrepreneur. They don't want to do things differently because they're afraid of failure, right? Well, I think that's a common theme, but this is the only life we have. This is the only chance you have. So I'd really much rather fail a few times and try to get what I really want rather than living a life that's kind of like The Walking Dead, you know? I'm trying to read my notes, which, by the way, I have the crappiest handwriting. All right. He started with the Vietnam War was a big deal for him. So he actually started his entrepreneurship because of the need, because he actually wanted to have a way to do a magazine about the Vietnam War and get the message out there that they didn't like that. You know, they didn't want that to happen. So that's how he started. And then he got into the record business. And as he says, being an entrepreneur wasn't sexy 50 years ago. You know, they had British Coal, British Airways, the Brits owned everything. It wasn't like you could do things independently. All right, so the next question was what kind of thinking is necessary to be successful as an entrepreneur? And he said that the idea that he has to stand out from a crowd. You have to do something different. You can't just do the same thing. It's got to be better. Everything has got to be extraordinarily better. You have to offer a service or a product that is better. I do that all the time. I mean, singles cruise and the cleansing is way better. So it's that I feel like I got mastered. Then he said, surround yourself with brilliant people. I do that too. People that are smarter than you. You know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong freaking room. Because you don't learn. You know, it's just important to be good with being around people that know more than you, because then you'll learn more, right? Find people that want to better themselves and delegate so that you can be free to think of other important things that need to change in the business. You got to get good people. You got to get good with dealing with people. So this coming up, this next segment, I think is going to be pretty important, interesting for you guys. But one of the books I'm reading right now, a really old book, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I wish I would have been like given this book when I was 15, because I'm from the mindset and from my upbringing, everything was very critical. Like I guess I can't say too much about my parents who are alive, but the surrounding that I grew up in was very critical. Like, in order to improve you, it was telling you what you were doing wrong and how bad you were at this and what you needed to be doing differently, and you need to do it my way, and it was all criticism, and that's how I learned. So I'm not crying, by the way, my eyes are watering. That's how I learned how to manage a lot of times. In the beginning, when I was in my 20s and I was managing people, it was like, just get to the point. This is what you're doing wrong. You know, you need to do this right. But what I found is, with this book especially, is just that trying to find times that that people are doing things right so you can praise them. Praise versus criticism works much better in motivating people, even if they're doing a lot of things wrong. So I was very excited to be mentored and learn that way. But that's Sir Richard Branson's philosophy, and you're gonna hear more about that. It's very interesting. So you have to, a company that's gonna survive is gonna be good and genuinely care. A company should be a real family, he said, not these fake families. And he said, you know, when the banks go bad, they don't think nothing of laying off 2,000 people. But would you do that to your real family? If your business was going bad, would you lay off your sister or your son? No, you would try to figure out a different way. And he even came up with the concept of, he just asked them, you know, things are getting really hard. Can you take 6 months off? Could you go travel the world for a little bit? Can you spend more time with your family, and we'll do our best to hire you back when things get on their feet again? You know, options like that just don't seem to be something corporate America does. But that's what he does. That's how he runs his businesses. And another question he got was, how do you avoid being taken advantage of? I love this one, because that would be my fear. If you're so accepting and always positive and always nice, aren't these people going to take advantage of you? Because you know people out there, and I sure know people, even at my workplace, that I think do that. He said no. He said you just give people complete flexibility, such as, he has a Virgin Atlantic in the States right now, right? The airline. And he said that he allows them to take long vacations. He goes, you take whatever paid vacation you'd like, whatever you need. You can work from home. You can come in whatever hours you want, whatever works for your schedule. Maybe you just do the morning, and then you spend time with your family at night. And, you know, he said, I give them the flexibility to do whatever they want. And if they're treated well, they will not take advantage of you. They will look for ways to enhance their job skills. Isn't that beautiful? I thought that was really interesting. He also says that he just thinks it's very sad in the U.S. that we have such a short vacation period. Most people get like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm fortunate I've gotten more, but I don't know how people live off that. And honestly, I have a girlfriend Barbara in Vienna. She's on the system too, and she was telling me she lives in Vienna, but she visits the U.S. and travels more than her U.S. friends, and she lives in Vienna because she has so much time off, because in Europe they have more time off. How is that? That a woman, she doesn't want to live in the U.S. She could, she's a citizen, but she would prefer to live in Europe because she can visit the U.S. more than if she was living here and working here. That's a little crazy, you gotta admit. So he said he thought it was kind of like, he used the word slave labor. That might be a little harsh, but that is what he said. So he wants to give his people more vacation, and he believes that they'll work harder for him. So then another question, what do you think about second chances? And you know, he said basically that second chances, he's given them a lot, and that they've worked out for him. There's a famous story that one of the guys in his record company stole a lot of records, and a buddy called him up and said, I think your staff is stealing records and selling them to us. And he brought the guy in, and he said, well, stealing's no good. I was like, I gotta work for a guy like this. This is great, right? Anyway, and he said, I'm gonna give you a second chance, and he did. And he ended up getting like the contracts to the Culture Club and I don't know, all those other big bands back then. So he's like, Second Chances really worked out for him there. But then he mentioned that they're working directly with the prisons and proactively interviewing people in prison to work for them. Now, I don't know too much about that, but it's something worth Googling. He said currently the head of his security is a lady that comes out of prison on Monday and has to go back in on Friday night. That's their head of security for, I forget which business it is, but I'm sure you can figure it out on Google. And he also mentioned a couple times that people shouldn't be in prison. There's a lot of people in prison that shouldn't be. And he said, you know, people like that did drugs, they didn't even sell them. Boy, I couldn't agree more if anyone knows my story, but good God. I was like, Sir Richard Branson's the smartest guy ever. Another question he was asked, what are the common habits of a successful entrepreneur? He said not criticizing the staff, being proactive, finding time when they are doing something good to praise them, being flexible, like we said, with the work at home options, the longer vacations, giving them exactly what they want so that they want to work harder for you. And I couldn't agree more than that, because I know with my company, with Singles Cruise, you know, I battled very hard to work from home because I knew that that was a freaking waste of time. I read this book called The 4.5-Hour Work Week. I highly recommend it. And it just clicked. I said, holy crap, I spend 3 hours a day just in traffic, you know, an hour back and forth, parking, all that crap, and then getting ready for work. That's like an hour and a half at least there, and I got to get to the gym before work. And I literally gained like 5 hours of my day when I started working from home. And I believe everybody should be working remotely to some degree, because it's your life. You just have more life left. I mean, I could 5 hours a day. 5 hours a day, that's 20 hours, that's 25 hours a week that I had extra to do what I needed to do, what I wanted to do, to build my business on the side, to get in the gym more, to be with friends, to be with family. That's crazy. Working from home remotely is amazing. He also said that a company needs to listen more to their employees. I have to agree. And learn from your team and your customers. Learn what they want. You know, he goes on these airline, he goes up in the air and asks the customers what they want. He said that you need to write things down, and his example for that was because a lot of his meetings are at 1 in the morning at the bar and he won't remember. So I thought that was quite cute and transparent. He said your reputation is all you have. At the end of life, your reputation is all you have. I think that's pretty sensational. What a great concept, and I'm very proud of my reputation, and you should be of yours. And if you're not, you need to change that. You know, that's all you got. He says live your life in a way that you're not going to damage your brand. He said your whole life is a brand. You're branding, and you should live your life in a way that you're not going to damage your brand. He said a way he thinks about it is, if I read this, if I'm going to do something and I read this, I'm going to read it in the newspaper tomorrow, would I feel comfortable with it? And that's how he's liked to reference things, that, you know, the way he's living his life. If he doesn't feel like what he's doing, he would like to read it in the newspaper the next day, or if it makes him feel uncomfortable, he won't do it. He said he doesn't think the public minds if people fall on their face, and he actually thinks they like an underdog, and he is an underdog, and I'll tell you a quick story about that very soon. This morning, by the way, he was in the Mojave Desert, and they dropped the spaceship out of the... you'll have to go on Google and find out more. I don't do too much about his spaceship stuff, but he's got Virgin Galactic, and just this morning, before he did this big lecture with us, or interview with us, he was in the desert doing the spaceship launch, which has taken about 12 years, or much longer than they anticipated, and he was all teared up about that, which is really cool, because it's not just about being in space. And for me, you know, I don't really have any lust for space. It's not my thing. Like, I'm always like, I don't know, is there any fun in space? It doesn't look like a good time. There's no dance clubs. You gotta sit down. I don't know. Is there a party? Is there a bar up there? I don't want to go. But a lot of people have that concept of space being such a great place. But one thing that resonated with me today is that it's about people being in space and looking at the world and not seeing it as separate countries, not seeing it as separate religions and separate areas, seeing it as a fragile, incredible world of ecology that is delicate and needs to be taken care of and needs to be loved and nourished and cherished. And I do believe in that. I mean, the earth is so fragile. So he's sending people into space, but not just with the concept of doing it for the first time to be just someone that does something for the first time, but to actually be giving people a different perspective on what the earth is, you know, and hoping that that will also filtrate down to his other brands, his philanthropic activities in trying to save the world with the carbon war, and of course all of the hunger and need that's in the world. So he's also putting out like 800 satellites so the whole world can have free access to Wi-Fi. I don't know how he's going to deal with that with China and North Korea. You guys got to fill me in, but and if you didn't know, like China and North Korea don't have open internets, and there's some other countries, even in the Caribbean, that don't. But he would like to bring that to everyone, so that was just very cool. He likes to go fast. I love that, because you know I like to go fast. I'm always being told to slow down, and I seriously want to be like, slow down. I don't tell you people to speed up, do I? Let me do my thing. I get a lot of shit done in a day, you know? So he likes to go fast. And Virgin Galactic, that's the name of that spaceship company. If you're just tuning in, I'm just reading the notes that I took over from Richard Branson. Basically, we had a Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson here at our GoPro event, and it was sensational. What a guy! And I'm just recapping, and this is very impromptu. I haven't done any, you know, studying my notes, and I have chicken scratch, so you have to bear with me. But I thought you guys would really value this, because I certainly think it's important, and a lot of people haven't heard from Richard Branson, and he does have a lot of books. I didn't know that. All right, so let me move on. So he says he comes from the 60s era, where his mother, if he said anything ill, his mother would make him stand in the mirror for 5 minutes to show him how badly that reflected on him. I think we could use that as a tool, Joel. Yeah, so 800 satellites to create 4 billion who don't have internet access. That's one of their new projects that they're gonna be putting up. Okay, how did Virgin Atlantic, the airline, come about? This is a very cool story. So he was going to San Juan, Puerto Rico, to see a lovely lady. He was about 27 years old, and he decided that he hadn't seen her in like 3 weeks, and he was definitely going to be seeing her. He was excited about that, and whatever airline he was flying on, he was broke-ish back then, right? He was 27. They canceled the flight because there wasn't enough people. They were going to go the next day, and he said, well, there's no way I'm waiting another day. I haven't seen this woman in 3 weeks. Today's the day. I love that. Men motivate women. You motivate men. You do know that, right? We are a great motivator. They can move mountains. So he said, screw that, I'm going to see her. So he said he didn't have much money, but he took his credit card, went to the back counter. He said, how much to charter a plane? And they gave him the price, and he said for a lark, he went on the blackboard, he put down Virgin Atlantic Air, and he said $29 one-way flight, and he wouldn't want to get on. So he went around to the people that didn't get on the flight and said, do you want to be on my flight? And he sold his first full aircraft for $29 a pop and chartered the flight to San Juan. And that is how Virgin Atlantic was born. And as I had said in the beginning, he said most of his businesses are created out of frustration that people aren't doing it right the first time, and he wants to do it right. So this is certainly an example of that. He decided after he chartered that flight to see the girl in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which he did get to see the girl. Sounded like it went well. He decided to look into it more deeper, and he called them up and said, do you have any jets for sale? And that's how the business relationship started. However, I'd like to mention that British Airways apparently made it extraordinarily hard for him when he started to become successful. They really basically put him out of business, or tried to very hard, and I have that on my notes somewhere, but I'll get back to that. He's very well known for this whole the hot air balloon business. And by the way, his son is a producer, a movie producer, and new movies coming out, Don't Look Down. And I'm not a promoter, by the way, but I want to see the movie. Don't Look Down, check it out. It's got live footage of, I guess, the intro was so compelling. Richard Branson was voice, and he's saying, everything that could go wrong went wrong. We were over the ocean, and I wrote my kids a note, and loved ones a note, and prepared to jump out of a balloon. And anyway, I haven't seen the movie. Apparently he lived, though, because I saw him. So Don't Look Down, I'm going to look for that movie. But they decided to cross the Atlantic with a hot air balloon because it was challenging, because he wanted advertising for his Virgin Atlantic Airways. And you know, as an entrepreneur, he's just so innovative and thinking about how to create advertising out of no dollars, really no cheap dollars anyway. So that was the reason they did the cross the Atlantic. I guess 6 had tried and 5 had perished, and he ended up, you know, doing that for advertising. And there's more to that too, but let me move on. He was asked an important question: how important is creativity? And Richard Branson's answer was, I think it's everything. He said it's no point in creating a company if nobody knows about it. I can't agree anymore. I think that is just so great. So here's a great advertising tool I don't think you guys know, and I just love this. Another Virgin Atlantic advertising promo idea that he had. You got to picture this, guys. They hired a blimp, an air balloon blimp, and on one side it said, now I went over the Super Bowl in the States, and they didn't have any airtime, right? Because they were all gonna, British Airways owned all that. So what he did is he had in huge writing, so you could read it on the blimp from the ground. It said, NBC cameramen are the sexiest men alive. He said, NBC cameramen are the sexiest men alive. And so, of course, the cameraman shot his balloon with the Virgin Atlantic on the side. And on the other side, it said, but can't get it up. How innovative and crazy and cheeky is that? So they had hired a blimp, and they knew that they put Virgin Atlantic on it, and that they also wrote these other words so that the cameramen would see the blimp and put the blimp on camera with the Virgin Atlantic logo. We gotta do that for singles cruise. That's crazy. I love it. Let me flip my notes here. All right. So British Airways tried to put him out of business. They did dirty tricks. They went through his trash. They hacked his computer site. They canceled flights on him and then rebooked him on British Airways. So I'm sure there was much more than that, but I just got the cliff notes, right? And he ended up going through and suing them, and they won the biggest lawsuit in that arena, let's say. And what do they do with that money, though? Check this out. This is what they did with that money. They distributed it evenly between the employees and called it the British Airways Christmas bonus. It was around Christmas time. How freaking cool is that? Anyway, they also did a Virgin Cola, and he said that failed miserably because it wasn't different enough. So when you're an entrepreneur, you want to have something different, something that's the best, that makes it really the best. I know we have that with the cleansing company and Singles Cruise, or I wouldn't be a part of it. I don't work with anything but the best because it's just a waste of my time. Life's too short. I want to bring you the best. And then they did Virgin Brides, and I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna Google it back when I have time. But you should Google it, because he dressed up as a woman and shaved his beard. That was part of his promo. He dressed up as a bride. Anyway, he's very innovative. Then he has Virgin Unite, which is his philanthropic activities, which are numerous, and that's basically what he spends 90% of his time doing. And you know, the best part about being an entrepreneur and making all this money is really giving back. And I get that you might not be there yet or understand that, but you got to grow in order to make people grow. And when you're a part of being a leader, growing is that's your biggest focus. And as you grow, you start to realize that contribution is the way to happiness. Contribution, what you can give back to this world, is truly the greatest height of happiness. So he spends 90% of his time with that, and their tagline is never accept the unacceptable. Never accept the unacceptable. And they have the carbon war as well. I think that is just incredible. And when you say the unacceptable, like the starving children, the people that are slave labored, you know, the terrible stuff that's going on to our earth, never accept the unacceptable. He's big into the family, of course. He has a couple 2-year-old grandchildren, and he said that he was trying to get the kids to call him Grand Dude, not Granddad, Grand Dude. I thought that was so cute. He cut Eric Worre's tie off when he cut it off right when we got on there, which was kind of funny. So you must genuinely be the best. It has to be the best in its field. You want to be an entrepreneur, you have to have the best, genuinely the best. And everybody that's supporting it and sharing that product has to believe it's the best, and that's really important. So those are great tips, and I know we have the best, absolutely, for sure, hands down. And transparency, and I find in this industry, in being an entrepreneur in network marketing, that was my biggest hang up, is that people weren't transparent. I am very real. You all know me. I am transparent. I will tell you the truth. I don't. I've always been that way. If any of my family members are on here, I'm sure they're very uncomfortable about it because they hate the truth. But I like to tell the truth, at least the truth how I see it. I mean, everyone's truth is different, but not many people tell the truth. So, transparency and truthfulness are truly the heart of any successful entrepreneur. I know we have that. We possess that, which is fantastic. He had a question given to him: if you would write a letter to your 30-year-old self, what would it say? And he said, "You lucky bastard." So that was really cute. I'm almost done here. So he basically ended with his quote, which was no, this is not his quote, but he ended with a quote. But I love this quote. I want to share it anyway. If you're going through hell right now, keep going. Just keep going. Gosh, I can't tell you how true that is. My life has not been easy. I am going to share with you guys some of the real challenges. I haven't shared a lot of challenges with you guys because social media is so new, and I'm like, I don't know about that. And I don't want you to think I'm Pollyanna. The only reason I have gotten where I have gotten is because of all the challenges that I've had, and they are numerous and tear-jerking. But I will share them soon enough. I'm getting there, because one of the events I went to just lately, it really impacted me when it said, you haven't gone through all this stuff for nothing. You haven't gone through this for nothing. You've gone through these challenges in order to help people relate to you, to teach people, for you to learn. And that's the same thing for you out there. You haven't gone through those life challenges for nothing. They are for something. And I don't generally share the bad because I like to just focus on the future and focus on the good, and just move forward. I mean, I'm a real good one with repression. I think repression's a great and cheap tool for a good psychology. But I do have a story to tell, and we all have our story, and I'll tell it to you eventually, but not today. All right, so Sir Richard Branson, where is his last quote? Oh, it was in the beginning, and he, I want to find it. Maybe I can find it. I don't want to keep you on too long if I can't, because like I said, these are just my notes. He said, just get going. Oh, screw it and get going. But there was a rhyming thing. It was screw it and get going. Screw it, just get on and do it. That was his quote. So from Sir Richard Branson, Las Vegas, and Shelby, just trying to piecemeal it all through. Just screw it and just get on and do it. And I love massive action. I'm a woman of action. I take action. I take risks. I think that that's the only way to live. Not huge risks, you know. I'm not gonna not know where my next check is coming from or live paycheck to paycheck. But I definitely take risks, and I live big. I want you to live big. If that's what you want, reach out to me. I want more people that want more on my team. I want to help you guys grow and teach you guys what I've learned and learn from you. You really are missing out not being here at these amazing events. It does take time, but no one has more excuses than me not to be here. I mean, for instance, I see my family 6 months a year, 6 out of 12. And right now I'm in Canada visiting them, and I came here for 4 days, which kills me to do. But my husband said, you gotta go, it's a great opportunity, I won the tickets, etc., etc. But no one has more excuses. I travel, like, you know, I travel extensively. I've been all over the world practically. Believe me, traveling isn't that exciting for me, like it is for people that are new to it. I loved it at the beginning, but that's not what gets me off. It doesn't drive me. And it's kind of a pain in the butt because I travel so much. But I have many excuses for not being here, probably many more than you do. But I make it happen because I know that that's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to grow faster. And life is short, and there just isn't any time to waste. There just isn't. You just are not promised tomorrow. You know, a lot of these trips, a lot of the bonding goes on within your team, and you learn from the people that you're working with. And one of the girls' stories last night was her 40-year-old best friend died of breast cancer. cancer, and it was obviously extraordinarily tragic. I'm sure many of you have had something like this happen in your family too. But that she said it changed her life, and she just got on it, and she just went for it, because life is not promised. It is not promised. Please do not wait. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is your life. So get on it. Okay, I'm Shelby. You're fabulous. Thanks for tuning in. I'll keep you posted as I can, all right? Have a good one.